welcome to FYI TV. We are down here in the Tidewater area with the top auto mechanic in the area. And Carl, I'm not just saying that because I think that, because you've done work for me and it's outstanding.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm saying that because you have been called King Carl by 3 different people I've talked to. This guy is the #1 auto mechanic in the Hampton Roads area. Carl, what's your secret, buddy?
My secret is passion, hard work, study.
Right.
Yeah, you have to do your homework. You definitely have to study, you know, and to keep up with the modern technology.
And tell me a little bit about the modern technology.
Well, what has changed is that we now have components that are controlling other components. The electronic components that are controlling other electronic components and that are preserving the integrity of the mechanical components. You know, we have what you call a CAN-based control area network. You know, it's like 5 people being in a room and we all trying to accomplish one idea or to make something happen, but we have to be able to communicate consistently to ensure that this component is doing its job. And if there's a problem with miscommunication, then the whole system goes into a fail-safe mode to preserve the integrity. Transmission has its own module. It's called TCM, Transmission Control Module. That module is designed to tell an individual or the main computer in the car what is going on with the transmission. If there's a problem with the shift solenoid or there's a fluid problem, you know, this module is able to detect that.
And with the speed of all these devices, how do you monitor the data? How do you figure it out?
Well, we have scanners that are able to do that, to slow the CAN down and to look at...
They slow the CAN down. Now, the CAN is the protocol, it's like English.
Well, it's...
cars.
Right, it is a high information highway, you know.
So you slow that down.
Right.
What, do you have to put it in a freezer or something?
Well, you can go to a freeze zone. Yes, you can. You can, you know, to see on the scanner, you can do that. You can slow it down.
Oh, you don't literally freeze it?
No, no.
You just look at the scanner.
Right.
So that data stream is, you slow that data stream down, and then what do you see?
This is what you call live data, and I can see whether information is being restricted or whether, you know, it is flowing the way that it's supposed to, because the information is really voltage. You know, certain components require, puts a certain amount of voltage out and some of them don't. Some of them are less voltage, or some of them are ohms, some of them are AC. You know, so whatever the specifications are, the computer's already programmed, you know, for these things, that, you know, and it recognizes, you know, these components. When these components are not doing their job, the computer stores the trouble code.
So you've got to have 2 things. #1, obviously you need the equipment.
Right.
And then you need the experience.
That's correct.
And tell me a little bit about your background. Did you start off being trained? Or,
Yes, I did. I started out by being trained. I worked for a dealership years ago. Of course, I was a lot younger then, you know, and over 30 years ago, you know. But I find that education is, you know, it's good, but the best education you get is when you put yourself into it.
Right.
You know, when you study and you're hungry for it, that is the best education. You can go to any school you want to go to. Mm-hmm. But when you got yourself into it, and this is something you have a passion about, no school can give you that.
This is King Carl, people. King Carl, King Carl's Repair. Look at the number at the bottom of the screen. If you want to get enrolled in this maintenance program, if you've got any problem with your car, he's giving better, and tell me if I'm wrong, better than dealership quality at less than dealership prices.
My car is not a brand new car, and it runs like a brand new car.
Well, the other thing is that you're just a number at the dealership. You know, they're trying to get many people they can in and out. They don't have time to have that one-on-one. He go through what the problem is and how to fix it, and he educate us on the problems and what to look for.
One thing about me, I deal with people on a one-on-one basis, you know, and I take them out and I show them what's going on with the car, you know.
And I bet you found
And I educate them.
that a lot of people are in love with their car.
They love that, you know, and it's important because it helps me. If you know what's wrong, if I can teach you, well, you can tell me what's wrong with your car, you just don't want to fix it, then you're helping me, and you're helping yourself as well, because you don't have to feel insecure because you know what's wrong with your car.
So once you fix somebody's car, they see the value in you. Then tell me about your maintenance. You enroll them in your maintenance
I enroll
program.
them into the maintenance program, and I have a program that's set up. It tells me based on the mileage that you put on your car when your next service is due, whether it's an oil change, tune-up, whatever it may be. You know, it's already programmed for that, you know, based on the mileage on your car and your driving habits.
It seems like your customers are the kind of people that really love their car. They seem like they're a BMW, Lexus, Mercedes owners, high-end Ford, maybe Range Rover, but they love their car so much that they want somebody to look after their car that's not just a number.
Right. and I just love people. You know?
Right.
And when you love people and you like to communicate with people, that says a lot. You know, you're going to take care of their product, you know, as if it was yours. You know, at least I do. You know, it's just not another car or another person coming into the shop. You know, I value my customers.
Right.
I value their property.
Well, talking of customers, we're going to hear from a customer right now. This gentleman owns Audio One. They've got 3 locations down in the Chesapeake area. His name's Jim, and let's see what he's got to say about King Carl.
I got to say, the guy's, he's on top of his game. He's brilliant. He got to the heart of the problem. Both of them were electrical problems, so a little bit harder to get through. And he got to the heart of the problem in no time at all. And I think he did it for about half the price of the that I would expect a dealer to charge.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Now, Jim has got 30 years of experience wiring electrical systems. He's up with all the new mods. I mean, he's putting in the latest GPS technology. He's a very smart guy. And if he can't fix it, guess where he goes? King Carl. How do you deal with an intermittent
Well,
problem?
I take a picture of it. My scanner, I can go in and drive the car and just take a picture of in real time of what's going on. And whenever it does what it does, I can take a picture of it, and then I go back and look at the scanner and see where it was.
Now, sometimes do you think that it helps people to get a call from you or to get an email saying, hey,
Right.
I know you've got a busy life, but you got to look after your baby.
That's correct. Yeah, that's something that we do. We do. That is something that we call and do follow-ups. You know, just like a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Have a
So,
program
okay,
called-
so if whatever vehicle you've got, Carl can put into the system and then manufacture OEM specs.
We have
right?
the software for that. That's correct.
I have a very busy life. Every once in a while, you know that little sticker that you put up there that says, you know, every once in a while I look at that thing and go,
Yeah.
oh man, that was says 20. I was meant to have it changed at 27. I look down and go, I've got 34,000 miles on it. Is that good for my car?
It's almost like not changing the decal on your car.
Right.
You know, you get pulled over and your decals expire, you get a ticket.
Right, you didn't notice it.
You didn't
So
notice it.
can you call me up and tell me when I need to get a new decal? You'll call me up and tell me when I need inspection.
All of that, yeah.
Oh, and you will?
Everything is noted.
Okay,
note everything.
and so when I bring my car in, let's just say for a simple oil change, how much you charge for an oil change?
It depends on the vehicle itself.
Fiat 500.
Well, if it's let's say a Mercedes or BMW, it requires synthetic oil. You know,
Right.
It's the cost of it is $120. I charge $110. You know,
So, okay, so you pay $110, you bring the car in. What else do you get for that $110? Do you inspect the vehicle? or-
what we do is we do an inspection, an overall inspection. We check the tire pressure, and we do what you call a flex service on it. You know, we go and look at the vehicle and see if there's anything that may be out of order that needs to be addressed. Yeah.
And how many points do you look at in this inspection?
Well, there is actually in an oil change is like 27 point. But I also have a program that if you want a complete maintenance check, we do a 174-point check.
174-point check.
Everything on that car, you know.
So you're going to plug in the
Scan
the
it.
device,
Yeah.
scan it, and it's going to tell you.
What's going on with the systems, the different components in different systems. Also, we physically examine the ball joints, the tie rods, you know, all the suspension, front and rear suspension, brakes, shocks, you know, mirrors, you know, and
All
make
the
sure
things that I wouldn't do.
that most people don't think about. You know.
It makes sense. You're the professional. I mean, like, for instance, my car, I want to see that car go forever. I mean, I want to see that car 400, 500,000 miles. In your opinion, is that possible with the right maintenance?
Yes, it is. You do the proper maintenance on it, you can get those type of miles. I have customers that have those miles. You know, so you still have that car, 300,000, 400,000, still have it, and I'm going to continue to drive it as long as you're fixing the car.
I did an interview one time with a guy, and he had just gotten a CTS-V, Cadillac CTS-V station wagon, 525 horsepower, and he said in his life, he loved 3 things. Number 1, his car. Number 2, his wife. Number 3, his children. And his wife saw this on TV. So he was. So this is the level. So if you're one of those people that loves your car to the point where you almost don't want to leave it, you don't want to get in that loaner and drive away. You just want your car to be looked after like the princess that she is. Then this is the man, King Carl. Now, Carl, you do look after your cars, right?
Yes, I do.
And you don't.
I take care of my customers.
And do you have a personal relationship with the vehicle, or is it just nuts and bolts?
Well, it's a personal relationship and nuts and bolts as well. They both are combined.
but the car is going to find out that you are
That's
the
correct.
master.
That's right.
King Carl will rule over any car. He will tell that car what to do. The car will not win, right, Carl?
That's correct.
Even if you have to work
And
night
I do
and
have
day,
the capability of telling them what to do.
you can.
Yes, I do.
That's amazing. Now, Carl, well, you know, the old days of being able to work on a car with $200 worth of tools, are those days over?
Yeah, they are draconian. Those days are gone. You have some people that still hold older cars as collective.
Right.
And
they don't have a jack to plug in.
no, they don't have to
You
worry
still
about
gotta-
that.
right.
They're not under OBD2, OBD1, OBD2, the CAN system that we're in now. They don't have it.
So tell me about the tools that you have now, the equipment that you have to have in order to do your job.
Okay, well, you do have to have the appropriate scanner that is able to, with the software where you can get into the management system of a car. If you don't have the software to do that or the equipment to do that, the only thing you can do is look at them. You can't even.
Right, and
Because some cars, you can't even check the oil with dipstick. Old cars have dipsticks. Some of them have dipsticks. You have to
Really?
use your scanner to look at it. Mhm.
Really?
You have sensors and on the in the oil pan or on the oil pan
Yeah.
that tells the level
Yeah.
and the quality of the oil.
That's amazing.
It has its own engine management system. And if anything is out of whack or, there's a problem, you have to be able to get into the management system to see what's going on with it. And it'll tell you. Matter of fact, some cars they even have their own onboard diagnostic center in the car itself. And a lot of people don't know how to use
And
it.
that's what the errors are, is that right? So because I've heard people say, the thing that I don't like is that people go, oh, yeah, it's recorded an error. Well, we'll just reset that. And I'm going, well, surely there's a reason that
Yeah.
this computer's telling that there's an error because there's a problem that you
Yeah.
need to fix, right?
Yeah, they're called idiot aerials, idiot lights. And they come on, to warn the driver that there's a problem.
The other one, I love is a guy who I used to take my car to. He's a great guy, very affordable. And I told him, that I had a problem with the engine light came on. And so I went back to go pick it up and it was fixed. And he just cut the cable that went to the engine light.
Oh, that's deception.
But no, he told me. He told me. He said, "Yeah, I fixed it." I said, "What you do?" Because I cut the cable. I said, so I shouldn't look at it like the manufacturers are making it so complicated that I'm losing out. This is a positive thing, right?
Right, it is positive. Here again, it's designed to warn the driver that something is going on. And
Right.
it's called engine management. And that's what the system is for. Not only that, but it also helps with the emission, emission control. We don't
Right.
want too much pollutants going out into the atmosphere. So the engine management, the computer, what it does, it monitors, various emission components to
Right.
make sure that it's within specification, to cut back on emissions.
So, and the take-home message, folks, is this: if you get out of your car and it's still running and it smells like eggs, all right, you probably need to call King Carl. Now, what is that? Because I've got that with my car right now. It smells of eggs.
That's raw fuel. That's fuel that's not burning, and everything goes out the exhaust no matter what.
So, what I'm suffering from short-term gain, long-term loss.
Exactly.
All right, so if I actually took all that money I'm wasting, I should probably brought it down to you and paid you just a little bit of money.
To go in and scan it, look at the fuel trim, and find out what your problem is. Most likely with the smell of fuel, of foul smell like that means that
It's definitely running a bit rich.
it's running rich. And you have a plug or a coil or something that's not firing.
Now, once you get these problems resolved, what is your success rate on them, either re-offending the same or coming back with the same problem? I mean, do you find that once you get it fixed, you don't see the car for a minute?
Well, I see the car for something else. I don't let it go until it's fixed correct. If you don't fix it correctly, then it's going to come back.
Right.
And one of the problems you find that when a vehicle come back with the same thing is either one or two things: either the component it was defective or an aftermarket component. I am known for putting the right component back in the car. If it's a Mercedes part, a component, then you put a Mercedes part back in there. They
OEM,
made the
baby.
car.
OEM.
Yeah, they made the car.
Again, short-term gain, long-term loss, because you want to put something that's not OEM.
Yeah.
And yeah, it might be fine for a couple of weeks, but when it breaks, guess what? You're going to end up going back to the OEM piece anyway and wasting all that money.
Unauthorized part.
Right.
So if it's a Mercedes part, you put a Mercedes part back in it. They made the car. They are the creator of the car.
Well, folks, please, what you need to do is just make an appointment, to take your car to King Carl's, just an oil change alone, and this is a high-end oil change with synthetic oil is only $110, but you get the security, your car gets checked out. Now you check the air pressures, right?
Air pressure of your tires. We look at other components to ensure that there's.
You plug it into the computer.
Yes, and we also do a diagnostic on to scan it to make sure everything is okay.
And so this is step one. You call Carl, you take your car down there, you get the diagnostics done, and Carl, what happens then?
Well, and another thing to consider in the air pressure, you have tire pressure monitoring system, to ensure that,
Right.
Your tire pressure is at the, capacity or has the right pressure on it, and there's a system for that. I can go in and scan that and make sure that the sensors in each tire is operating appropriately. Because a lot of times, the light will come on and, you put air in the tire, you put too much air in it, and still light won't go out because it's
It's a bad sensor.
That's a bad sensor.
I got a bad sensor because I had a flat tire the other day, and the sensor wasn't saying anything, and I heard it going dunk 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 dunk, and I thought, nah, honey, just keep driving. The sensor didn't say anything. I got out. This tire was flatter than a pancake and about to blister out. But I think what we're trying to get across here is that you've invested all this money in your car, okay, and we're human beings. A lot of times we do, take the short, easy way out. Maybe we put off making that phone call. But once you're in King Carl's program, he's going to look after your car for you.
That's correct.
And he's going to look out for you in terms of maybe short-term pain for long-term gains.
Correct.
But this guy's been around the block. He knows the best way to do it. And I'm assuming that you have figured out in your career that doing things properly is the best way.
That is the best way to do it. You do it the right way the first time, and the second time is a breeze.
Right. And your car can last 300, 400.
And that is the objective. The objective is to ensure that people get out of their car the durability that they anticipate. When you buy a car, you want to make sure that you spend a lot of money for it. You want to make sure that you're able to drive it and get the miles out of it.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but in theory, when you have two pieces of metal with oil between the two pieces of metal, those two pieces of metal should never erode. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, now, the only caveat to that is if the oil's no good or if there's no oil, it will rub and it will corrode. And
Will corrode.
And now, do you ever do this when you look into the oil? Do you look for any kind of particulate? Do you look for?
I do. I look for deposits, in the oil. Sometimes the oil will put out other deposits to warn you, let you know that something else is going on, like moisture. A lot of times you can see moisture in the oil, which means that someone has put the wrong oil in there, the wrong grade of oil, and it causes,
The old mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even our bodies, produces synovial fluid. So every time we move a joint, they keep us lubricated,
Right.
So it's the same concept, You are what you eat,
Yeah.
and your car performs based on what you put in it. Garbage in, garbage out.
And also, if you look after it or you don't look
You
after
take
it.
care of it, it will take care of you.
Yep. So, Carl, what you're telling me is you're kind of the doctor for the car, and any doctor's going to tell you, look after yourself, right, and you'll live longer. Eat healthily, you'll live longer. And if there's a problem, come talk to me.
That's
Right?
correct.
Carl, in your years of experience, did you always have this mentality, or did you learn that the only way, the most efficient way to do it is to do it properly, do it with OEM parts, spend the front end time in diagnostic? Tell me if I'm wrong. Has this always been your mentality, or was this learned?
Well, this is something that was acquired. I learned that, and some things you learn through trial and error. Some things we're just not born with, and we go through experiences of trial and error,
Right.
And you learn from that. Some people don't learn from it; they just stay the same. But it doesn't. The results don't change.
Right.
But if you learn from it, then the results are going to be different. And I always wanted things to be different. Better results, that is. And so I learned from my mistakes. I have made mistakes in the past.
We've only got a half-hour show, and you've only heard a tiny snippet of what Carl's customers have said. Some of the other things I can just synopsis of what they've said is that he really cares about their car. There's really a relationship. He's not going to say no. He's not going to tell you he can't fix it, take it somewhere else. He has a commitment to your vehicle, and everybody I've spoken to has said nothing but fantastic things about you, Carl.
I'm profound to know that.
I mean, you know, doesn't that make it worthwhile?
Yes, it
because
does.
Sometimes I'm sure it can't be easy.
Yes, it does. You know, my ego is out of the way, but I'm just appreciative of that. You know, and like I said, that is the driver. That is my driver to get up in the morning and to deal with the challenges that I have to face every day with different vehicles. You know.
Don't you find that your customers are as passionate about their cars as you are
Yes, they are.
passionate about? And that's the kind of the fit.
Well, they are, because here again, transportation is a necessity, and you know it's a good feeling when you are in your car and you don't have to feel insecure about whether it's going to take you to or fro where you're trying to get to. You can get to your destination and go home and without worries.
Once you've gone through the whole process, you've fixed the problems, you've cleaned it out, right? So there are no more errors.
No more errors. You erase the errors out, and some computers has to be reflashed. You know, they may need to be reflashed. Let's say you have a car that does not have a telephone in it, but it has a slot there for a telephone.
Right.
You know, the other vehicle, just like yours, has a telephone. So therefore, the one that has a telephone in it has a module for that phone. Yours don't have the module for it. So when you go in and scan it, the computer's looking for that, but it's not there.
It's interesting because there seems to me like two things that you do. Number one, you're like a professor in a lab coat, diagnosing the problem, but fixing the problem is good old school wrenches, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you first of all, you do your diagnosis, you know, to determine whether there's a mechanical error versus electronic error. If it's electronic, then, you know, yeah, you still use tools, you know, and some of them, some of the electronic errors does not require tools except the scanner, which is a tool.
What would be the most common error that you see?
Well, the most common error that I see, let's say you're riding down the street, and let's say you could stop at a gas station, and most gas have 10% ethanol in it, and you put gas in the car. Well, ethanol, you know, has water, and this is known. The car does not run off of water.
Well, ethanol attracts water.
Right, you know, and you get some moisture in the fuel system, and it can cause a problem. Well, the computer picks up that because what is being combust in the engine, it goes out the exhaust pipe. The O2 sensors are sitting in the exhaust stream and is reading the contents as it comes out. And if something's wrong there, if it's too much oxygen, the O2 sensors, which is some of them is the air-fuel ratio sensor, other one is for fuel, and it sends signal back, you know, to the computer, let the computer know that we have some contents that's not equal here. You know, we need to take care of that. Your car started running funny because of that. You think you got this major problem, you don't know what's wrong with the car, but the computer's actually doing that. It's saying, you know, cut back on fuel or dump fuel based on the condition that's been created.
What blows my mind is that it's all online,
Yeah.
right? And in watching you looking up these vehicles, you're looking up a specific year, even month.
Yeah.
Now that's a big part of it too, right?
Well, the scanner itself is programmed for various different vehicles, and it's also Internet Explorer based, Windows based. I can take pictures with it, record with it, all types of things. I can component test. It does, it's multiple things. It's just a multiplicity scanner.
Okay, so let's say you plug it in and it says you need a new clutch. There's no easy fix to that other than undoing the bolts.
Right.
You go back to old school,
back to old school.
engineer mechanics.
Yeah. You know, and the way they're designed now, the design of the cars is a lot different than the older cars, you know, so you really have to have, you know, skills in going in and removing the transmission because they're not designed like they used to be.
And you could break something.
Yeah, you can cause some problems.
You see, this is where Carl and I are two completely different people. Is I don't have the patience. I'm going to tell you right now.
You have to have patience.
No, I don't have the patience. And so what I ended up doing is breaking it and taking it to somebody like Carl, because I mean, I'll start hitting it with a hammer, and then I start hurting myself. That's next. Then the blood comes.
I've seen those type of situations.
Yeah, no, that's why
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is take your vehicle to King Carl. Everybody needs a good mechanic, and it's good to know that you've got somebody who you can rely on, who's not going to just say, hey man, I'm sorry, you're just another number. You know, a car dealership, I mean, they frustrate me so much. The phone systems never work. You can never get through the right people. You sit there for hours and hours and hours. Now, if I bring in my car for an oil change, what am I going to do while you change the oil?
Well, I have a nice lounge. You can go in and watch television, drink coffee, and have snacks. And
Okay, if you've got a hotspot, can I get online?
hotspot, you get online. You know, I do have internet access there. Yeah.
So I can still keep on working
You
while you're
just-
working on my car. I can make the money.
The lounge is just like it being home, comfortable at home.
That's great. And now, your location, whereabouts are you?
That location at 928 Business Park Drive in Chesapeake, Virginia.
You've got customers that drive from
I have
far,
customers
far
that
away.
come far away. I have customers come from North Carolina, travel to bring their cars because they don't have a shop there that could work on their vehicles, Mercedes.
You have customers coming from North Carolina.
From North Carolina, that travel from North Carolina, and also from Hampton to Chesapeake.
All the way under the bridge and everything. If people are prepared to drive that far, that says a lot about King Carl and King Carl's Auto Shop. Okay, let's just have a little recap here.
Okay.
Carl, I bring my car in, right, for no real reason other than I've got to get an oil change. That starts the relationship. Where do we go from there?
Well, I get you set up in my database. We have a photo on you, so that any questions you call back, want to know, I can pull your photo up.
Right.
And also, there's a software where we keep it on the database, so we can pull it up on the computer and see exactly the issues concerning your vehicle. We also check cars out when people go buy vehicles. Buy used.
Well, that's a good point. Just bring it over to King Carl.
Yeah,
You
and
give it the proper assessment. You can
take a
tell
look at
whether
it.
it's a good car or a lemon,
Exactly.
right?
And I do that and take a look at it before they purchase it. And I've had situations where people have backed out of buying them because it had so many things that was going on with it, or negotiate the price on them.
Well, your business certainly requires somebody who's very intelligent, has a lot of skill and perseverance. I mean, a doctor, who we all think, a doctor, a doctor. A doctor has the advantage that the patient will tell the doctor what's wrong.
Exactly.
A car was not going to. Well, I guess now with computers, the car does kind of tell you what's wrong.
They tell you what's wrong with it. That's the whole objective of the way they're designed. It tells you what's wrong.
And so it's in the interest of the car manufacturer for their car to last a long time, because that gives them a good reputation, which means they're going to sell more cars.
And the government, OSHA is involved, as far as emission is concerned. So they want to be able to cut back on emissions. So you have to design these cars to where we don't have a lot of pollutants going out into the atmosphere.
And that's a good thing, people. So, I mean, this isn't just to save you money. This is to save the environment to a certain extent, because number one, we don't have to make another car. Number two, you're running at peak efficiency. The computer system's working correctly. You're not going to tear up your transmission. And if you do have a problem, or if you have a check engine light on,
Don't ignore it.
don't ignore it. I know, you know how many mechanics who I've talked to goes, don't worry about that. That's nothing.
I've had people to say, that's been on for 3 years. Well, how many problems you've been able to determine, that you have with that light being on? Because it only comes on.
Well,
when it's ignition.
I always thought that it just meant that the engine was made in Czechoslovakia.
Not quite.
Folks, this has been a great half hour we spent with King Carl Gray. These words did not come out of Carl's mouth, they came out of other people's mouths. The best mechanic they've ever met, the best mechanic in the area, the best mechanic in the United States, the best BMW mechanic, the best Mercedes mechanic, the best Lexus mechanic. You need to do yourself a favor, save money, save time, end up with a car that can go 300, 400, 500, 600,000 miles. I think there's some Volkswagens that have gone 1 million miles. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but what you need to do is hand the reins over, hand control over of your car to King Carl. He'll put you in the database and he'll tell you what you need to do with your car to get the most life out of one of the biggest investments you'll ever make in your life. Now, it's getting wrapped up. Carl, do you want to say anything else before we go?
Very good. You said it well.
Well, good.
You've covered it. You said it well. And I'm so appreciative of it.
Dr. Carl, Dr. King Carl, King Carl's Auto, please give him a shot at earning your business. And thank you very much for watching.